as we go through. Microphones are muted, but if you do have questions, please use that GoToTraining sidebar, the chat section, to type your questions as we go through. We'll be reviewing those as we go through the session. You may also be interested in the materials section, specifically as we get started here, the browser compatibility chart in there, so you can see the internet services. Again, this is entirely web-based applications going online to type up forms and manage transaction files. So we have some internet requirements, so it's going to run best on your computer. So we'll get to that in just a second. The first thing I want to look at, I'm going to toggle over here. I'm just clicking on a tab to perhaps a page that looks a little bit more familiar to you. The login page, that home page, if you will, for Paragon MLS. Because we do have what we call a single sign-on integration with the MLS account, so that you can directly access your new transaction desk, your new InstanetForms account, right from your existing MLS account. And from this home page, if you will, I'm in the top third of the page, the right-hand side, under Resources. I'm going to click on that Resources filing cabinet, I believe is that icon they're using. If I click there, it's going to yield this menu of resources, of marketing and system and so forth. And at the bottom third of that Resources, Instanet. This is what we call a single sign-on link. So once you've successfully logged into your Paragon MLS account, you can singly sign on to your InstanetForms online account. You need to do this the first time. Until you've gone through these steps one time, you really don't have a Forms account. Clicking this link sets up that account. It uses your MLS contact information, your name, your email address, the office that you're associated with, your contact information from your MLS account to populate your new InstanetForms online account. We call it a single sign-on. There's additional integrations that we'll point out for MLS import to bring property information and cooperating agents into transaction files. But the main one we want to focus on during this session is that single sign-on link. And again, you want to click here the first time. It's going to log you in and create that new account. The steps, and that's what we were looking at first. So there you go. It's under the Resources. Again, top third, right-hand corner, Resources, that filing cabinet. Clicking there to reveal, you see that Instanet link. Clicking there, and you're going to be the first time that you log in, whoops, not that one, you're going to see these steps, because these are web-based applications. So the first time that you log in, we're just going to run a little check to make sure that you're using supported systems, to make sure that you have updated versions of Adobe and JavaScript and some features like that. Some pretty common internet features, but making sure that you have them installed and working on your computer. Probably the biggest one here is to allow pop-ups. Allowing pop-ups through Transaction Desk and InstanetForms is really going to deliver some high-quality messaging and other features of your online account. So allow those pop-ups, and be mindful that you may have pop-ups designated in a few places for internet options or for little search bars and things like that. Can all carry a pop-up blocker. So please do allow pop-ups from Transaction Desk as you're prompted. As those pop-ups are blocked and you're prompted to allow them, please do allow them for Transaction Desk. So definitely want to point that one out. I'm going to close that pop-up message. I have a lot of green checks. Believe it or not, my computer has been set up to officially run InstanetForms. So I have a lot of green checks. In the instances where they're not, maybe the Java support is not up to a recent download, or maybe your Adobe Acrobat Reader has fallen off the update trail. So you may receive some red X's here, and in those instances you will also receive instructions on how to take corrective action. So when you are logging in for the first time, you're going through what we commonly refer to as the pre-flight check. If you come up with some red X's here, you'll see instructions on how to take corrective action to make sure that your browsers are set most efficiently to run InstanetForms and transaction files. So the first pass through, that pre-flight, to make sure those updates are in place. Clicking here, top right corner, top third, right hand corner, clicking here to continue. As we continue, we do support all different browser types, and under the materials section of this GoToTraining sidebar, you have access to that compatibility document to show we support Internet Explorer and Firefox and Google Chrome and Macs on Safari and Mac devices, including iPads and so forth. So all that is in that compatibility document. Second step, logging in for the first time, is agreeing to a terms of service. To utilize the InstanetForms and transaction files, basically just saying you're not going to resell our product or try to resell it without us knowing about it. So read through it, understand it, make sure you do approve of that terms of service. But ultimately, bottom third of the page, right-hand corner, clicking on that blue arrow to continue into our online account. And take notice of those blue arrows. They're blue arrows. They are pretty consistent as we go through InstanetForms and the steps and features. So a little message here, and as we do have updates or enhancement opportunities or other system maintenance, typically happens at 1 a.m. in the morning, typically not a time too many folks are going to be up writing offers, but or putting in listings sometimes, but hopefully not tonight. But we will post messages for those maintenances and enhancements and so forth. So just continue to our online account. Really, the first thing we're going to do is talk about transaction files and talk about those opportunities, those elements that go into transaction files, so we can kind of get a sense of the program. But ultimately, we want to talk about a lot about this session is how it benefits or how it impacts that designated realtor in the office, the designated realtor, the office manager, the person who's going to kind of manage the office files and so forth, administrators, and we're going to see not only kind of what is available to the end user, your agents that you manage, how they can go on and create transaction files and so forth, but also from you is that what we refer to as super user. That is the phrase that we use for this type, that designated realtor office manager. You're referred to as a super user because you have additional services to make items global for all of the agents in the office to use, global for like transaction templates or clauses or other features that you want all your agents to have access to. As this super user, you have the ability to generate that content. So the first thing, we're looking at the light view of InstanetForms. Just take a look, or in the home link, if you will, of the light view. And really for a forms-only account, I'm really going to suggest that you just go right over to the Pro view. This same exact account, just more transaction management features in the Pro view than in Lite. And when you're working with a forms-only account, if you will, there's really not a substantial difference to use the Lite. As you add more services, people sometimes want the lighter version. But at the InstanetForms-only account, we really want to focus on that Pro view. So I'm in the top third of the page, the right-hand corner, and I'm just going to click here on Instanet Pro. And they are the same exact account. So if you prefer the view of the Lite and better, you can certainly use it. But the Pro is just going to offer us a few additional features that the Lite view doesn't. So just thought I'd come over here and introduce you to the Pro view instead of the Lite. But again, it's the same exact account, just a different amount of transaction management features. We're at the Home tab of the Pro view. We see that we do have access to a few links and tabs along the top. Broker tab, this is going to be the tab that is specific to the designated realtor. Only that office manager, the designated realtor, will see that additional tab within their online accounts to see how to make that content global for your agents and office to utilize. So we'll be spending some time in here for sure during this session. But we are viewing the Home tab. It's kind of the look and what we're staring at right now. The desktop is an alternative kind of to the Home tab. It's more of a activity-based view. So that when you have transaction files in progress and you're managing contacts and files, you can see those and you can see recent activity and more elements of deals that you have going on. So that's more the desktop look. settings, which we will be taking a look at here in just a second. For your personal settings, so you can again create content for your online account, as well as for the agents in the office. Last two, just to work through all the tabs. Calculator, it is a very nice amortization calculator, so you can see those 360 payments over a 10-year amortization period or something to that effect. So nice calculator to show those calculations. Help tab all the way in the far right hand corner, top third, far right. Help tab is instructional based. It's tutorials, it's screenshots and Captivate videos and instructions on how to complete actions within the online InstanetForms. So help tab there, always available online for screenshots and instructions. Returning back here, center, top third center, contacts. In addition to access to the forms library, there's an unlimited storage for contacts. Prospects and contacts can be added to the InstanetForms account to insert folks into additional transactions, into outbound email messages, and just manage those contacts and prospects that you're working with. InstanetForms is the forms library. It's a library view. It's to print a blank form. It's to type up one online form and really work in a one-off form situation. We're going to focus on transaction files because your agent's going to be creating packets, and you may hopefully going to set up those packets for them to use. And then we're going to see the benefit of working with transactions. But the forms library is available, and the forms that we have available are the Minnesota State forms, your local association forms, and we do offer custom forms programming services. So if you have office forms that you want to be online and available in the forms library for your agents to access alongside those state and association forms, I'll show some emails at the end where we can offer those programming services to get those office forms online and fillable for your agents to type up along with the state and other forms. Report, as that super user, you're going to have reporting features to run reports on transaction files being created by all the agents in your office. You can run reports on activity to see who's logging into their accounts and how often and the last time and so forth. So there's reporting features built into that super user. What we're going to look at here in just a moment is transactions. So you can see a transaction file. You can see what's available in the forms only account. So we'll see that here. I think right now, bear with me for just 1 second. I'm going to pull a little switcheroo because really transaction files is really the best way for typing up complete form packets. It's also the best way to follow and run reports on transactions that your agents are creating. Let's just show that. It'll show that because it also gave me a chance to segue right into looking at a transaction file. So I paused my screen. So let me unpause it and let's just take a quick peek because I have a transaction file created in one of my agents' accounts. So I'm going to click here on reports just so we can pull a report on that file and be able to look at what the whole hubbub is about transactions. So again, user reports for logins and transactions, and if you decide to add any additional services like AuthentiSign or DocBox or any of those additional services in tasks management, things like that, all of those different additional features just get included into the same user interface. So find the list of users here for all the agents associated with all my offices. And we're going with Betty here. She's the one who created the file. I'm going to generate that report. I can certainly select all the users that show up. And again, for the name to show up in that list, they have had to log into their account for at least one time. If you're looking at your list as you kind of agents start going live and start using the service, if they're not showing up in that list, they've never logged in to their InstanetForms account. But here's the transaction that's been created, and the whole idea was to really show you what a transaction is, the features of a transaction file, and we'll talk about the reporting and other kind of what we just did at the end as well. But this is a transaction file, forms only account, opportunity to add complete form packets, auto-populate these forms with our transaction file details. Details like address, city, state, zip that's been populated from the MLS. We're importing that content into online transaction files. We're adding contacts to our transaction files, buyers and sellers, cooperating agents and brokers. These folks, this details, the dates, the contacts, the address and legal descriptions, and all that information that we're importing from the MLS or adding manually to these files will populate the forms and contracts. So we have the opportunity to reduce redundant data entry and auto-populate our forms with all that contact information. You can establish, again, as that super user in the office, you can create these form packets and have them automatically added to your agent's new account. Create entire transaction templates and have your agents start their new files from a template. So you know that every one of your agents is starting the residential sale transaction file with the same 7 or 5 or 10 forms that you know they're going to need. So at that super user level, you can establish this content for your agents to use and leverage. But this is the transaction file in the forms only. Forms, contacts, address information. I want to focus on 2 features of this, what we're looking at, this transaction overview page is really what we refer to it as. Kind of top third of the page, I guess, middle third, left-hand side. That's the view we're looking at right now. We're looking at a transaction overview to see the details that have been added in already. But this red bullet points here on the left-hand column, commonly we refer to it as the dashboard for transaction dates. History is just a great feature. It's going to capture all of the activity that takes place within the online file, whether it's you accessing your agent, anybody that you've shared or given participant access, if you've offered. These are all features of the transaction file, and it's all captured within that history. Time and date stamp when activity takes place, what values changed, if there was a listing date change, and what it was and what it is now. So very robust history of online transaction files. General information to name the file, to choose the status of the file, so you can manage that sale process. If it goes through different transaction statuses, you can update those as you go through that sale process. Property information. Hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory, but all those details, date, expirations, list price, purchase price, when you add those features to the property information page of your file, it's going to populate the forms and contracts. So we add these details to get the auto-population into our forms. Call log is a really nice feature to leave notes and memos so that as the office manager, if you're going in and reviewing these files, you can leave notes, or if agents want to log substantive conversations they've had with clients and cooperating agents, they can leave those notes in the call log feature. So just be able to have a running dialogue of activity that's taken place within that sale process. Contacts is the first one I want to show there. Contacts, buyers and sellers, the participants, anybody that you add in as a contact can be granted participant access. So you can give third parties access to online forms if that's going to be a value. So that type of access. Final bullet point there is the InstanetForms. Access to the forms library to add forms to this transaction file, to type up a complete set of forms, to deliver complete typed up packets to clients and cooperating agents. So that's the overview. The other thing I want to speak to on this overview, it's an essential part of Transaction Desk. And as we go through not only this session but the following sessions, and as introduce this to agents, this is the overriding theme is I would like to. It is a consistent phrase that you'll see throughout the pages of InstanetForms and Transaction Desk. And every time you see that phrase, I would like to, it's going to be associated with these drop-down triangles. You're going to have choices. We are on the functional page of Transaction Overview. What would I like to do? I would like to print all my forms to a PDF. I'd like to import data into my transaction file for MLS information. I'd like to save this as a transaction template, generate a profile sheet. So you're going to have options. What would you like to do within that page? And every one of these red bullet points, dates, history, general information, not all of them, but most of them will have these phrases and have these drop-down menus to choose from. So that's a very essential part of InstanetForms is that drop-down menu, and I'll try to highlight or emphasize it as we continue through the demonstration. So this is a transaction file. So what we're going to look at from here forward is how you can shape these transaction files for your members, or excuse me, for your agents in your office. How you can run reports on these transaction files to see and manage and assist agents through those. Through the sale process. So the first thing I'm going to do, and just hopefully not to confuse, I'm going to pause my screen. I'm going to go back to our brokerage account, because right now we're kind of looking at Betty's account, looking at her transaction files. So we're going to switch back over to the Home tab of our broker account. And from here, back at the Home tab, so leaving that transaction file, back to the Home tab, what we want to start out with looking at is the Settings tab. Clicking here on the Settings tab, again, I'm in the top third of the page. I'm in the Settings tab, because this is where you can first come in and set up for your account. And there's two features in here that are going to benefit your agents as well by working here within the Settings tab. Primarily, we're going to talk about that broker tab, but there's two. There's always the exception to the rule, right? This is the exception. These two features here within settings. A lot of these are going to be for yourself. When you go to My Preferences, you can set account features. So you know, for login page, or account features for your email signature, or preferences in that way. How you want to filter the information as it's being presented in your account. So that's what the My Preferences are. There's that pre-flight again. Remember, we ran through it the first time we logged in. You can rerun it at any time. So if you're sitting down at a new computer office workstation, you can run that pre-flight and make sure that the internet settings are up to snuff. I really wanted to point out here, though, is branding. Bottom third of the page, left-hand corner, you can apply branding so that, I'm going to click there on Continue there on branding, you can upload company logos and photos for to brand outbound email messages, brand participant websites. That's where this branding is going to show. You as the office manager, super user, can upload the banner logo. It's 800 wide by 150 pixels tall, and it's going to be that header of any outbound email message sent through the InstanetForms program. Any email that's sent will have that logo header at the top. You can also add the company logo. It's this second logo. This one is for the personal photo of the agent. This one is for the company logo, and this one will brand those participant websites. So add that branding, makes those email messages pop, and those participant websites fixed logos and photos showing through those participant websites. So as the super user, this is where you can actually start to see, and if I click here, I will here just for another 60 seconds, click here on Change Banner. What you're going to see it as you go to upload that, you can first look at the sample size. So just want to make sure that you're going with the right size. 125 tall, 125, I think I said 150. So 125 tall by 800 wide kind of gives you that pixel range of that banner logo. But the one I wanted to point out and we'll be trying to emphasize, allow agents to upload their own logo to replace this one. If you do allow that, you can. But what I'm moreover trying to, excuse my mouse for a moment as it kind of shimmies around the screen there, what I'm really trying to point out is this opportunity to allow agents. We're going to see that consistently now as a super user account. You're always going to have the opportunity to allow your agents to do something, most likely copy the content that you're generating. But just start picking those up, those little check boxes to allow your agents access to those features we're setting. This feature is a little different, but hopefully you get the point there. And I'm just going to cancel. And it's just like if you've ever uploaded anything, ever attached anything, it's really just a quick step to add the logo, upload, and features like that. So use that to add branding for all of your agents to benefit from those outbound email messages, those participant websites. Back to the Settings tab. Again, top third, clicking back on Settings. We looked at branding. what we want to talk about quickly now is transaction templates. I'm a huge fan of these templates because it significantly reduces redundancy within starting new transactions. Clicking here on Continue, center screen, clicking on Continue. Again, your opportunity as that super user to establish these templates for your agents to use and access to start their new files. So there's that phrase again, I would like to, and again, I'm going to try to emphasize it as we go through. Now, I will show that there aren't always a lot of choices, and because we don't have any transaction templates, it's the only thing that we can do here is create a new one. So we're going to do the quick step to do that, to create this new template. And by doing so, all of our agents will be able to access and use this template to start the new file. So we'll just, for example, here we'll do that single-family residential buyer prospect template. However you want to name it, it is free-form text, so however you feel your agents are going to identify it, maybe you want to put a pre-1978 and a post-1978, so you can think of all the different templates that you could establish for agents to use to start those different transaction files that they're going to be involved with. What type of transaction? In this case, I'm going to go with the residential sale. This is just a generic list that we have. We'll see how you can add it globally, but you can always add transaction types to that list. Showing the steps here, we can import from the MLS, talking about those MLS integrations. We're not going to use it here to create our template, but I will show you how to use that as we kind of review how to create the new file from the template. We're going to show that here in about 10 or 12 more minutes. So we'll work on that MLS import when we get there. Populate from a template or a transaction. Well, we don't have any of those, so we're not going to be allowed to. Here's the step, the checkbox. I would like to share this template with my agents. So we can click it here to get it right from the get-go. I'll show you where you can toggle that availability on and off. So if you want to set it up and then allow them access to it, I'll show you where you can manage that. But they're picking up on those phrases. You want to share these with your templates. These check boxes to make sure. When creating the template, I do encourage to choose neither here or neither, whichever you prefer, when adding contacts to the file. This step here will add yourself and the broker as contacts to the template. By choosing neither, we're not going to add any contacts to the template. The agent will add themselves at the file level. So bear with me here. I think it'll be much clearer when we're looking at how to start that new file. And I'm just going to click quickly here, add a new template. So we gave it a name. We're going to use the wizard to walk through to add some features, and we're sharing it with our agents. So first step of the wizard is property information. First pop-up here message just talking about, well, what is a transaction file? And it really is the start of the opportunity to replace manila folders filled with paper with online transaction files filled with digital. And as you add more services to the forms only, you can really replace that entire file. So starting with forms, if you add Authentisign, then you have signed forms. If you add DocBox, and you have typed up, signed, and saved. So it really replaces that entire paper process for creating offers and agreements. But talking about, I'm just going to close this pop-up, talks about using the wizard, walking through. There's no required fields. We will not see any required fields, but we do benefit from adding detail to these fields. Not really here in our template, so I'm just going to click on Next, because again, we're templating. We're just adding common features. We're adding routine items. I do encourage one contact. I would like to phrase again, right? I'm getting over redundant, but I would like to drop down arrow. And we'll see the difference. There's none in there now, but when I add a contact, then I'll have more choices within these drop-down menus. And you might be saying, well, I thought this was a template. We don't know a buyer at this point. And I agree, we do not. But all these steps are going to do is I click Continue here down at the right corner. I'm going to choose the buyer contact type to add that type of contact to my template. And all I'm going to put here is maybe replace with buyer's name, something like that. Something to hold that contact place when I start my file from the template, when my agent starts their file from my template, they can replace that contact with their client's name. So just add one. You're not going to start, your agent's not going to start the file unless they have a prospect, if they're at phone duty or referral or something like that. So just add one. They can add more to their transaction files. We'll see that here in just a few moments. But final step of the template, if I click on next, is probably the most important step of the template, and that's actually adding forms. So I would like to add new forms. I didn't show you the expanded menu in the previous. I'll be sure to show you the expanded menu after we add some forms. Whoops. Did I click the wrong button there? Got to talking and went right past forms. So I would like to add new forms. Click on the Go arrow. And I call it the Go arrow because when you hover your mouse over it, when you're using Internet Explorer, Firefox anyway, when you hover your mouse, it kind of gives you that little bubble icon, little bubble instruction, if you will. So access to the forms library. I'm going to double click here on the folder name. So Association Forms, Minnesota Forms, foldered, hopefully in a very familiar way to you. I'm going to go to the residential sale folder. I'm going to click the plus sign once. So you can do either, so I'm showing you both. Click the plus sign one time, or like we previously did, you double click the folder name. And we're going to add some forms here. Agency relationships. I'm going to press and hold the control key. Here on out, I'm going to press down and hold the control key to select multiple forms. So I am not holding the control key now. I am not holding it down now. I am pressing it now and using the mouse to select the additional form. And I'll probably miss some that would probably otherwise want to add in here, but I'm going to do my best to move forward quickly, holding control, selecting with the left mouse to go through whichever ones are routine, right, or whichever ones you want to add. I'm going to go ahead and pressing in the control key now, selecting, and then you release the control key to go to the next form. I'm going to go ahead now and just say that I am a minimalist. I'm only going to add the ones I know I'm going to need, and I'll add more as I go through the sale process. But certainly add as many as you would benefit from, that you want your agents to benefit from, so they don't have to come in and look for and hunt and peck for these forms when they're starting the new files. We're creating a template that's going to automatically add these to their transactions. So let's just choose one more. Last time. Now pressing and holding control, using the mouse to select the additional form. Go through the folders by clicking the plus sign to expand those folders. Pick the forms that we're going to require. Looks like those mostly for checklists and so forth. Add selected forms to the transaction. Again, you can, if you have custom office forms, if you'd like to add those to that list to have another folder for your agents with your office name to show your office folders, we offer those type of programming services. So we've created a transaction template. I'm in the bottom third of the page, left-hand side. I'm going to click here on Save and Exit. Save and exiting from the wizard out of our template. So we went through the steps. We added some detail. I'm going to click on that again because that's not the only thing that we can do. We have a little bit more. We can click back on the template name. Hopefully this also emphasizes that you can re-access these templates at any time to revise them, update them, manage them as you choose to. I would like to. I think I was supposed to show some of these expanded menus. So I think we saw this one already, but print, import, some features like that. General information. I'm in the dashboard. On the left-hand side, I'm on the dashboard. I'm going to point out here by clicking on General Information. Here's where you can update if you want to kind of not immediately share it with them. If you want to get it set up first and then share, you can toggle that on and off as you see fit. So that's just a place where you can come and share or not share these templates with your agents. You can change the name, you can change the type, you can manage that. Going to InstanetForms from the dashboard. Middle third, left-hand side of the screen, from the dashboard, clicking on InstanetForms. These are the forms that we've added to our transaction. I would like to, as I said, I would show this expanded drop-down menu just to show the additional features. Now, once we add forms to our transaction, once we add contacts to our transaction, then it expands these drop-down menus. The one that we want to speak to always and forever is auto-populate your forms. That is how you get the details, the dates, contact information from the transaction file into the form fields. But you can see we can email, we can print, we can take steps with these forms. The steps that I would like to take right now is to just quickly click on this exclusive right to buy. Because part of the template, remember, we are in the single family listing. It's supposed to be a buyer prospect. So I can go change that. But let's speak to this first. We are still creating our template. These are the forms that we added to our template. I'm going to click on the form name. This will actually be your first peek at Forms Editor too. I don't know if you're going to be typing up a lot of forms. Perhaps some of you will, perhaps some of you won't, but this is what we refer to as Forms Edit Mode, where you can type up the online form. You can save your changes. You can work with these online forms. We are templating them. So if there are routine features of this exclusive right to represent, if commissions are routine, or if you have standard provisions or language that you add to all of your agreements, if there are those checkboxes and protection periods and other features of the form that you, like I said, routinely or customarily check and select, you have the opportunity at the super user level to not only create that template, but go in and type up any of these routine fields, reducing redundant data entry, reducing time, energy, and effort when the agent is starting their new file. So here's that retainer fee. Maybe we ask for it. Probably not, but we'll go ahead. It's just a demo, so we'll put it in. If there is a consistent percentage, you can say that. That's what it is here in Austin. So I'll go there. Here's that expiration or protection period. If it's routine, let's just say 90, something like that. The shalls and shall nots, you can go through and you can pre-fill this information at the templated level. So it's pre-filled for your agents when they start their new files. So not only on the exclusive right, but once we type up one, we could go to the purchase agreement and add any kind of redundant or routine or customary features to those purchase contracts. Go through. Not only can you add the form to the template, but you can pre-fill this form with those routine items. Scrolling down, just so don't want to spend too much more time here, but hopefully you get the idea that you have this opportunity as the super user to create this level of detail within the online forms and contracts. Exit from Form Editor. I'm going to point out when I do, we're going to be prompted. One of the reasons that you want to allow pop-ups, I mentioned them as we were kind of starting the session, but allow pop-ups. Save prompts are a big one. Little calendar icons are another one. There's a lot of those prompts as you go through the sale and the transaction file where those are going to come into play. So transaction template. Now I do want to go back to the general information. Apologize. I apparently can't read my own handwriting here, but we wanted that to be the single-family residential buyer prospect, something like that. Oops, dump prospect too. Save your changes. Update the transaction. Template these. Share them with your agents so your agents can start consistency and efficiency throughout that office. Back to the settings tab, more just to kind of say goodbye to it. This was the template. I think we're done with our template here. We created it. Clicking on the settings tab. That's where you can come back to any time and manage it and update them and create more of them. And you can use created ones to set up another one. So template transactions benefit agents and office workflow. This is under the settings tab. Now we want to go over to the broker tab. Going over to the broker tab, top of the page, pretty much center, shading to the left a little bit, but broker tab. This is where you'll see the additional features of the broker, what you can do within your account to help benefit your agents in the office. Clauses. This, again, I'm just going to continue to refer to it as the dashboard, these menu items on the left-hand side of the screen, menu items, clauses, quick start groups, contacts. As you generate these features for your office, I'm going to click here on clauses. This is standard provisions, STIPs, whatever, however you like to refer to them, standard language that you want your agents to use in specific sales situations. How's that sound? I would like to add new clause, and we'll do that. We're going to click here on the arrow to take the 30 seconds to title. We'll call it the final walkthrough. Never used that before, I swear. And the clause is the language used when requesting a final buyer walk prior to closing and funding. So your agent doesn't have to guess for that clause each and every time. They can simply paste it into their forms and contracts. But there's that prompt again. Allow others to copy the clause. Important to check that box so your agents can see it and access it through their forms editor. As I click here on Save Clause. Because you generate the content here in your broker account under the settings in the broker tab, your agents access it through their online accounts. Same thing with Quick Start Groups is a nice way to bundle form packets. I like to use, I'm a huge fan of the templates. As we saw, we just spent 15 minutes or so talking about them. Quick Start Groups is a way to bundle together some forms. The way I like to use them is in those one-off situations, maybe when you have a specific pre-1978 or homeowner association or something like that. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it requires a set of forms. The Quick Start Groups can be good for that. Just add a group of forms. They packet them together, though, so you can quickly add them to an existing file. Contacts. You can add contacts here to this section, and your agents will be able to see those contacts within their database. So I would like to, let's add, maybe you have a lender or a home inspector or a lawyer or a title officer, somebody that you would like your agents at least have access to. So if they have questions or they have options to work with or access their content. General information, I just added Joan Loan and her email address. There's home address. There's work address. I'm in the middle third of the page. Tabbing. We'll just click here on work address. Probably won't have the home address for the loan officer, but who they work with ABC Home Loan, something like that. Additional information. But as you add it, I'm just going to save that minimal information, bottom third of the page, right-hand corner. I'm saving Joan Loan as a contact. Now each one of my agents will be able to see Joan Loan's contact information. They'll have access to them within their online accounts. Custom types is something we kind of just saw. I'm going to click on it because these are the different types of content that you can add. Contacts. We added a buyer contact. You can add different contact types, different property types, different transaction types. So in addition to the 6 that we have for commercial, lease, listing, and sale, you can add custom types as well. So again, create the content, make it available. Transaction statuses, I think it's one of them. It's a great feature that is often underutilized, that you can generate these statuses for your agents to manage that sale process and mirror that sale phase. I would like to. There's that phrase again, drop-down menu. So there's always a couple in there. Let's create one. Maybe it's the broker review status, or maybe it's pending contract status, or whatever. If you have any that are specific to phases, you can save those statuses. The nice thing with that, then you are training your agents to update, or maybe you do already, they already update their transactions to a particular status. So as that super user, I'm going to run a report for any files in that status, and I'll manage them and review them for my agents or so forth. So that's what you have the ability to do once, especially off of these status types. If you can, if you have those custom statuses, you can generate them and then run reports based on those statuses. So that is the content that you can add for the global, if you will, for all the agents to use. So what I'd like to do now is show you where the agents are going to see it, how they're going to access it, and how it's really going to benefit them when they're creating their transaction files. It's also going to show you here how I can switch accounts. I guess right before I do, I should talk about these two additional settings. General settings is a good one. It speaks more to our Lone Wolf integration. So if you use Lone Wolf back office accounting, you can integrate that Lone Wolf account with your new InstanetForms account. So it is a accounting software, back office accounting software, and it essentially allows you to import from Transaction Desk to your Lone Wolf back office. Lone Wolf offers a lot of services that we integrate with, so you may be interested in that. But Lone Wolf general setting, AuthentiSign templates. So this feature, if you will, would be two things would have to happen. One, you would first have to have custom office forms. And two, you would have to have an AuthentiSign license. But if you add those two things to your account, custom office forms, and purchase AuthentiSign license to use AuthentiSign digital signatures, you can template the signature and initial requirements on your custom office forms. So it's a nice feature there, integrating InstanetForms with AuthentiSign. InstanetForms, type up the forms, AuthentiSign, get digital signatures. They're integrated so that you can pre-plot where initials and signatures are required on your custom office forms. With that said, we're switching the account, just still working in the dashboard on the left, switching the account. We're now going to switch into Betty's account. We're going to start a transaction file using that template that we created, and I'm going to show you where they can access that super user created content. So switching the account, and you could do that again as you are the super user. You will have these options. So again, that list will show every agent who's logged in at least one time. If they've never logged in, then they're not going to see their names in that list. I'm going to start a new transaction. So this is me as the agent, and if you're a producing broker too, you want to start a new transaction. These are really the way that they're going to start their files. And because we created a template, we want to train them to start. So right now, the blue circle is up here by new transaction. That's the primary view here, the new transaction. What we want to do is populate ours from a transaction template. So bottom third of the page, shading to the left, I'm going to select that option to populate from a transaction template. This is where your agent is going to be able to view the templates that you create for them. Or if you don't, then they can create them for themselves, or they can just start new transactions, and we'll train them in those other follow-up sessions. So the transaction name is probably the buyer's name, and I'm just going to go with my buddy here, Ben Benson, and he's a obviously single-family residential buyer prospect. And I do want to use that template as I hit this drop-down menu. I'll see all the templates that I've created. We can walk through the wizard. We can go right to the overview. So just with time is of the essence, I'm going to click here to go right to the overview. And I'm going to add myself here as the selling agent. See how right now it's neither? And on our template, there was no contact set. Well, I guess the one buyer was added placeholder. But this is where I'm going to identify myself as the selling agent. The broker will be added in as the selling broker, because we could add neither here or both sides of the file, from the listing and selling, and listing and agent and broker. So this is where the agent starts to identify themselves. They're leveraging the Office template, but they are going to start their transaction adding themselves in as contact, Office in as contact. And this is really where the template starts and finishes. All it's going to do is add that content. Everything from here forward will be specific to this this agent's transaction. No details that she changes here will affect the template used to get here. So those features have been used, and now everything updates that we make will be specific to this transaction, in no way affecting the template that was used to start the file. All right. So what we're going to do now, is from the transaction overview, want to show how we can use this. I would like to, you can see the content that was added. So first things first, perhaps from our overview screen here, we'll replace with buyer's name. So from my contacts, bottom third, kind of center-ish, replace with buyer's name, and click there. Again, to save myself a couple steps, having to go to contacts, add a contact, choose buyer contact type, and then update. I'm just going to click here to replace with the buyers, and that's what I'll do. Ben Benson. If click equals time, then fewer clicks equals less time. Whatever information we got from Ben, maybe an email address and a cell phone, we are updating our transaction file for our client or prospect. Here's what we referred to previously as that transaction participant. Just going to point it out, not really going to spend too much time looking at it, but it can be of value. It is a website branded with company logos and personal photos. Select the specific features that you would like your participant to have access to. Decide specifically what features they should access or not, and deliver an invitation to participate. InstanetForms will send that automatically. It will include the login name and password that you gave them to access this transaction file along with the link to do so. So it really is a nice feature to grant access, online access to those third parties, clients, cooperating agents, lenders, loan officers, whomever would be of value. Add to our contacts. We do want to add Ben to our contact database. So I'm going to add there, save that contact information. Ben has been added. If there are multiple buyers, if there's husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, add them in separately so that each will auto-populate the form fields, those printed name fields under the signature lines. Just add your buyers and sellers separately. Two people or two separate contacts to the transaction. Add or delete contacts to our transaction file. Let's go back to the overview just for a moment. Back to the overview, because the next thing we want to do is point out the I would like to phrase. Hopefully that's getting to sink in a little bit. I would like to import data. This is kind of the third place where you can import MLS detail into InstanetForms. I'm going to click here on the Go arrow. And I say the third place because we can use MLS import to start our new files. We can use MLS import here to import into our existing transaction files. And there's also going to be what we call a one-click transaction integration to actually start a new file right from the MLS listing. One-click transaction, so that's pretty neat integration as well. Just make sure that your property type and your MLS ID match up. So if it is a farm, make sure you choose farm or building and so forth as appropriate to the ID that you're importing. So we can bring that property information, as I click here on import data, bring that property information into our transaction file. Importing data, it's going to reach out to the MLS, it's going to find that MLS ID, it's going to import that transaction, or excuse me, it's going to property address, city, state, zip, list price. It's going to also bring in the listing agent and listing broker. All of these folks are all this information is brought into our transaction file. If we wanted to confirm or review that, we could go to the property information link to add more details, add some dates and things like that. Remember, the information that we add to our transaction file, dates, contacts, property information, will auto-populate our forms. So let's look at the forms here. We have about 5 minutes remaining here in our hour session. So I want to show this opportunity as well to auto-populate, update our forms. Can express one of the essentials. Along with the I would like to phrase, this is probably the next most essential feature, to auto-populate, update your forms with transaction file information. Clicking on these links or choosing from that drop-down menu, we want to populate our forms with that property details, dates, contact information. On-screen confirmation, all forms successfully updated. And let's click on that contract for exclusive right to buy. That's the one we updated a little bit when creating our template. So I wanted to show how that pre-fill comes over and how it benefits the agents time, energy, and effort, redundant data entry, things like that. Try to avoid some of those features. Dawned on me now, I should have shown how we could access Joan Loan when we were in the contact section, how we could access Joan Loan's information, and maybe with a couple moments at the end, we'll jump to that. Here's our list of forms, and if it immediately looks to you like, man, we missed a couple forms I'd really like to see added in, we can right from here. So we're looking at the list. I think we may have missed some. Top third of the page, shading to the left, within Forms Editor, Transaction, Add New Form. I can actually access the Forms library here and add additional forms to this transaction file. There are nice drop-down menus to view, to zoom in or zoom out, to format, for uppercase, lowercase, or font style, color, and size are all features here. We can send outbound via email. We can file, print, save, or export as a PDF, and take steps with these individual forms. But until we are ready to choose another form from our list here on the right, I'm going to shrink that against the side of the screen. So we can actually see the form that we're working with. Just to point out, all the blue, maybe they look a little light gray, they are all fillable fields. You can see what's been populated. These are calendar pop-ups, so if you want to choose from the pop-up, you can. You can also type manually. But we want to go through, we want to complete all of the required and optional fields. But this is just what I wanted to point out here. The features that we pre-filled from our template, pre-fill our forms. But that's all it does. It's pre-filled. Maybe the agent needs to update it. It can be changed. You're setting guidelines. You are, putting in routine information. It can be updated at the file level. Nice part about it as well is when they update it at the file level, it's captured in the history. We know what it was when the file started, and then we can see what they changed it to through the sale process. So it gives you more visibility into what processes are taking place. I do want to point out our clause. Certainly want to point that one out while we're here. See if I scroll down, maybe there's a provision field or just somewhere I can paste something, or at least feign that we're going to paste something there. So let me just click on that real estate company name. Maybe go down just a smidge further. Maybe there's something here below. Yeah, that looks like that'll work just fine. The other field, I want to activate the field that I want to paste to. So I'm in Other, line 109, cursor's blinking. Drop-down menu of Insert, Clauses. So when your agent is typing up their forms, they can access the clause that you created for them. They can add it to the selected clauses on the right and copy it to their form. It's going to ask if we want to put it at the top of the input area. Yes, we do. And it's going to paste that clause into the form. Form editor to type up online forms. Hopefully that's nothing new for you. Don't want to spend too much time here. Show you that prompt again. Once they go through and type up all of their forms and contracts, again, as we finished one, we could have simply gone through the list there on the right-hand column to go to the next form and the next form. These forms can now be merged together or emailed separately, delivered outbound to our clients, to the cooperating agents for signatures and initials. So that's where you go through the steps to type up the InstanetForms and then deliver them outbound by email, by print, by PDF. If you just want to export them to PDF, those are the features that are available to deliver those completed forms outbound. Offer participant access and skip the whole send and just direct them to the online participant website. So right there, right at the hour mark, I'm going to be very mindful of everybody's time. Really do appreciate the opportunity to present. Make sure there are questions before we kind of wind out here this session. I'm going to go back to the overview. So please do type questions using that chat section if you have any at this point in the webinar. So this is our transaction file. This is what it's all about, creating transaction files, managing that sale process. We covered your access as the super user under the Settings tab for templates and branding to generate that content for your agents to use and access. And we looked at the Broker tab to add additional features like transaction statuses and clauses, and to be able to switch accounts to see your agent's specific accounts, or to run reports for all the transactions or logins that are happening within the office and all the agents in the office. So that additional visibility that you have as that super user. I'm going to re-raise this audio message now. I want to point out a few features you may be interested in as I scroll down. The first one, if you would like to schedule a webinar specifically for your office staff, or for the agents and teams in your office, we can tailor the session to the time that you have and the content that you would like to cover. They are specifically for you and your agents. They are free and are very similar to these live sessions. For one, they are more interactive. When there's fewer attendees, we can speak to each other and discuss implementation strategies and be very more communicative back and forth through the session. So tungle.me/webinar Greg is my online calendar, so you can submit days and times that would be convenient for you that are available on my calendar as well. All of these links are also found in the materials page of the GoToTraining sidebar as part of this GoToTraining meeting. So if you expand that sidebar, the material section is where you can see these links and that browser compatibility document. There's also the chat section to type questions. If you are on Twitter and have any interest, you can join the conversation. Webinar Greg. If you would like logos, I'm trying to think here the best place to send. This is a little bit different. Logos at Instanet Solutions. We looked at branding, how you could upload a banner logo or a company logo. Logos at Instanet Solutions is if you would like to brand your forms library. So if you would like to see, as long as it's okay with the association and state, if that is available to brand your forms, if you send an email to logos at Instanet Solutions with the attachment of your company logo and the name and address of your company, we can brand your forms library so that all the agents in the office, the forms that they create, are branded with your company logo. Forms at InstanetForms is for the custom forms programming. So if you have custom office forms and want to deliver those to be programmed and posted, there may be some costs involved. Typically at launch, we offer some type of incentives toward the forms programming. So take a look into those opportunities. Because the forms do need to be programmed and posted by us. You cannot scan and attach your own company forms. They would not be online and fillable. If you would like them to be online and fillable, then it has to go through the programming process to be part of the InstanetForms forms library. The other instance is if you wanted to scan and attach just documents and disclosures, they don't necessarily need to be typed up. That is our DocBox feature. So if you want that opportunity to add documents to the online transaction files for online document retention, that's the DocBox feature. Part of our transaction management. So it's not part of forms only, but it can be added as a document storage feature. And spell check, there is, yes, but it's part of Adobe Acrobat. You actually set the feature in browser settings and Adobe Acrobat Reader than you do in InstanetForms. InstanetForms uses Adobe technology and internet technology for spell checking, so you can turn on spell checker within the browser, spell checker within Adobe Reader, and have it spell check as you type up your online forms. You can also do autocomplete and a lot of those additional they're browser settings. So if you set that browser setting, then you're going to benefit from it within your InstanetForms. It's an entirely web-based program, so so those features are more browser settings than InstanetForms setting. DocBox is an upgrade to existing accounts. Is my understanding that's a form-only member benefit, but those additional upgrades are available to any user. Typically offer incentives for multiple licensing and things like that. If you have specific questions, you can email me, webinars@instanetsolutions.com with those, and with questions, comments, general observations. I can get them to appropriate parties internally. It does sound like some special pricing is being worked on, probably not only for forms programming, but also to upgrade to AuthentiSign and DocBox and the additional management services. And it's all integrated into one platform. So as you add these services, you're just essentially adding additional links into your existing account. So it's all integrated and all power of one platform. If you do just have individual questions, toll free, 800-668-8768. This is good for sales and support. So support is basically anything that is not a how do I question. So anything that is not a how do I question, maybe it's like a what just happened question. 800-668-8768 is a good number for that. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, so 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central. Tech support agents are there and available. Lastly, as we wind out, youtube.com/InstanetWebinars. We have a tremendous amount of recorded content available online, playlists for super users and broker tools, InstanetForms Pro and what we went over today. So a lot of content recorded and made available online. youtube.com/InstanetWebinars. I will remain available for a few more minutes to answer questions as we wind out the session. If you type in the question into that chat section, I will respond directly through that. I'm going to log out of the audio portion, but will remain available to respond to any questions typed through that chat section within that GoToTraining sidebar. But thank you again so much for the opportunity to present, and until we webinar again, I hope you have a tremendous, tremendous day.